Right, for your Year 10 intermediate test, you need to know the rules of indices. So we're going to start with some basic ones. Some will say just work out. And if they say a question like work out 4 squared times 3 squared, when you're working out the answer for that, you have to do maths normally. There's no simple rule of collecting them together because they've got different bases, i.e. the big number at the bottom is different. So if I'm revising for my test, I need to work out what 4 squared means 4 times 4. 3 squared means 3 times 3. And then I've got to work that out. So you've got two options. You can either do it as 4 times 4 is 16, because times squared means times itself. And then you could say 3 squared is 3 times 3, which is 9. And then because it's multiply in the middle, I'd have to do 16 times 9. So if I was doing 16 times 9, I would probably split the 16 up into a 10 and a 6 and a 9. So I would then be doing 16 times 9, and I would be multiplying 9 times 10. 9 ones are 9, and there's 1 0 on the end, which is 90. 9 sixes are 54, and then I would add them together. So I got 90 add 54, which is 4 add 0 is 4, 9 add 5 is 14. So my answer to that question would have been 144. That's the first type of thing you need to know when you're working out indices. And that's when the base, the big number at the bottom, is different. Right, the next number where they become different is where they ask you things like this, okay? Simplify. And when they say to simplify, they could give you a question that looks like x to the 6 times x to the 5. So when they're given x to the 6 times x to the 5, because they got the same base now, they both the same letter. Okay, it could look like this. What you've got there at the bottom, x to the 6 means you pretty much got 6 x's multiplied by each other. So that would be the x to the 6, and then you're multiplying that by 5 more x's. So when I'm multiplying that by 5 more x's, that would make, you got 6 x's at the start, you got 5 x's in there, and then when you multiply them, you can see how many x's have I got all together. I have now got 11. So the quick way of working that out, you might remember, is when you've got the same base and you're multiplying indices, you just add the powers. All right, so it becomes x to the 11. So that's the quickest way of doing it. So if I show you another one of them, like if I add x to the 3 times x to the 8, all I'm doing there is adding the little powers. So 3 add 8 makes it x to the 11. What happens if I put a number in front of that? If I change that so it becomes like 20x cubed times 3x to the 6, what I need to do now is multiply the normal numbers normally. So it's 20 times 3 or 3 times 20. So 3 20s are 60. And then all I have to do then is add the little powers. So 3 add 6 makes 9. All right, and that's how you do normal indices. All right, so you multiply the numbers normally and then add the little powers. Anything else? You could ask you to divide. So if I was dividing indices, I'll do my x's curly so they don't look like times. X to the 8 divided by x to the 3. Whereas when you multiply indices, you add them. When you divide, there's another rule you use. Imagine now I got 8 x's on top, so that means x, 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 x. There's 8 of them on top, okay? And I'm dividing it by 3 of them. So because I'm dividing them by 3, that and cross that one off with that one, and cross that one off with that one, and cross that one off with that one. That means I've now got 5 left. But the quick way of doing it is when you divide indices, just take the power away. So you're just doing 8 take away 3, and 8 take away 3 is 5. So when you multiply indices with the same base, you add them. When you divide them, you take away. All right, one other thing you need to think about, what happens if there's a number in front of x. Like if I put 50x to the 7 divided by 10x to the 5. like the last one, I can take the powers away. So x to the 7 divided by x to the 5 would be x to the 2, because you take the powers away. But for the normal numbers, you just do the normal rules of divide. So 50 divided by 10 is 5. So that one becomes 5x squared. So that one becomes 5x squared. How else could they lay this one out? They could also give you a question. I'm going to move on to another sheet of paper by here. All right, but they could give you one that looks like this. So if I say number 6, 6x take away 3 to the 7 divided by 6x take away 3 to the 2. That line means divide. Are they the same thing in the brackets? Yes. So because they're the same thing in the brackets, all I can do is just cancel them down. I can take them away. So because I'm taking them away, well, 7 take away 2 is 5. So the answer to this one would just be 6x take away 3 divided by 5. All right, and that's the indices you need to know for your test next week.